Hello, everybody. Welcome to our NFT panel for INO CON 2021. We have two amazing guests here today, Carolin, Wend, and Dan Runcie. Going to give you guys a little brief background on each. Carolin Wend has a bachelor's in international business, also studied marketing, has a Master of Arts there, worked in many different international business development roles throughout her career. She worked at Fest Ticket in a business development role in London and Berlin from 2016 to 2017. And most recently is the co-founder and COO of Midface since January of 2019. Dan Runcie, our second guest here, is somewhat of an advocate of the hip hop and news culture world. He has an MBA from the University of Michigan, also spent a few years as a freelance writer, writing for outlets like Wired, Complex, and Medium. Most recently, he is the founder of an awesome company called Trapital, started in 2018. And they discuss a lot of different things happening in the hip hop world. So just to kind of get us started off today, I wanted to speak a little bit about NFTs in the beginning part, and then we're going to move towards a little bit more music specific NFT questions. So to get us started, I had a question for you, Carolin. I kind of just wanted to hear a little bit more background on what you guys are working with over at Midface. Maybe you can talk a little bit about some current projects and what kind of separates you guys from the average NFT marketplace.
Yeah, definitely. So my background, just quickly how I got into the space, because I think it's a really nice round topic. So I used to work for this Fest Ticket, this ticketing company. And back in 2016, the festival founder of Wilde Möhre told me about this crazy thing, blockchain. And he told me like, well, Carolin, one day there will be no ticketing companies, there will be no banks anymore, because blockchain will replace everything. So because of this, I started researching about blockchain and got a job in German parliament where I was a blockchain researcher. And then I met Nate, who I'm co-founding Midface with. So what we're working on right now is back to this festival, the festival founder who got me into blockchain, this from the German festival. We are basically now integrating NFTs in this festival in Germany this summer. So there will be 5 editions. We will be doing kind of a hybrid festival experience where you can, artists who are performing at the festival anyways can sell their NFTs before, during, and after the festival at the virtual exhibition or at the actual physical location. So that's one really passionate thing. I really love this. There are like lots of international musicians who are coming, and I can't wait to just see those NFTs in action and just being used and traded. So the last months we have been heads down programming Midface on the Near blockchain, which is a sustainable blockchain because of the proof of stake mechanism. It's also climate neutral. They do carbon offsetting, and we are ready to launch. And what makes us different from other NFT platforms is that we are one of the first NFT platforms on the Near blockchain, but also we are kind of like a protocol. We don't want to be, I don't know, a music platform, or we don't want to be a ticketing platform. We want to be like the base for other creatives and other artists to come on board and create their own stores. So when you come onto Midface, you have to create your own smart contract, which basically, if Midface dies tomorrow, no worries. Your smart contract will live on, and the metadata, which is, for example, of an NFT, a song, or the image of the NFT, will live on forever because we store it on another blockchain, which is called Arweave. So we want everyone to be independent, create their own businesses, and do whatever they want. And we are kind of like the protocol for this.
Great. Yeah, I think you touched on 2 really important things there. This point on, the efficiency of the blockchain, and also kind of this idea that NFTs are going above and beyond just a unique digital asset, offering some sort of access or some sort of privilege, which personally is the direction I think things are heading. And I think it's cool that these marketplaces are kind of starting to put an emphasis on that. So do you guys also work or help mint NFTs outside of the music industry and other industries? And if so, how does the music industry NFTs kind of compare?
Definitely. So we don't determine what your NFT should be. Our main customers, our main people who use Midface are usually artists, creatives, musicians, and like we are the technology provider, but somehow people really like to trade music NFTs. So that's super exciting. In terms of like why are people even doing this? So one of my friends, he's a DJ and he has like 300,000 listeners on Spotify monthly, and he gets like, I don't know, 800 euros or something or less from those streams. And then he recently sold 3 NFTs and he already made like double of what he will make from his monthly stream. So I really love like those creatives to just like experiment, sell NFTs and see what's beyond just the collectible, but maybe the music NFT unlocks certain content on their website, or maybe it's also a ticket to a conference. It can literally be anything.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Cool. So move over to you, Dan. Thanks again for being here. Maybe if you could just tell us a bit about Trapital, your company, maybe how your background led into it and some of your main focuses today.
Yeah, first off, Ryan, thank you and thank Berkeley for inviting me to this. So I'm the founder of Trapital, which is a media company that covers the business of hip hop. So talk about how artists are monetizing, how they are building businesses both inside the music industry and outside of it. And I really started this because I had wanted to change the narrative. I had worked in several different industries and studied all sorts of ways that some of the most prestigious industries or business leaders also got the coverage that came along with it. But if you looked at what was happening in hip hop, especially now, you're starting to see so many of those same business leaders reach those same heights and have that same influence in society and culture, but that same level of deep strategic analysis, the type of case study you would read somewhere like Harvard Business School, or the type of article you would see somewhere in the Wall Street Journal, you didn't see that as much on a regular basis about hip hop artists, the companies that they were building, and the things that they were doing. And I had done a little bit of this work as a freelance writer. It's something that I started after I was in grad school. I was doing it on the side. And while I enjoyed it, I started writing for bigger and bigger publications. I really felt that this needed to have a home. It needed to have its own setup base to be able to really focus on the business of hip hop. And then it can hopefully not just attract those that are interested in this, but ultimately become a resource for the people that are working in this industry, which it has. And it is a weekly newsletter that I send out to more than 10,000 people that are industry executives across the world. It's also a podcast that interviews many of these leading executives too. So started in 2018 and, definitely still in the early days, but excited about what's ahead.
Awesome. So I assume NFTs have made it into some of your recent articles, news posts. I don't know if you have any favorite campaigns that have been put out or something you think is especially relevant in regards to NFTs, but I would love to hear your opinion.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that interests me the most about NFTs is just the progression of how monetization has happened through music. And I think it's come up at a really timely space for the industry. If you go back 20 years ago, this was a industry that was in many ways trying to fight off the threats that were coming from Napster in terms of how music was being no longer monetized. People were just ripping the MP3s and distributing them. And in many ways, it devalued the art itself, and it became much more accessible, abundant. And then a few years later, in comes Spotify and makes it much more easy to use and is able to at least provide some type of monetization. So now at least the record labels and at least the biggest artists in the world can monetize from that. But there's still this opportunity, this gap in terms of how can your middle class musician, how can the people that could at least promise on the fact that there was at least some promise of revenue that they could get from a CD sale, how do they then monetize? So you have this, there's been a few different experiments. One of the things that I've really looked back to pretty fondly is this rapper, Nipsey Hussle, who had passed away 2 years ago. He had this concept of an $1,000 mixtape and $100 mixtape where he put scarcity on it, right? He was like, okay, we're only going to sell a certain number of these. I'm going to sell it for a high dollar amount. And in a lot of ways, that was one of the thoughts that I think led us to where we are today. Not necessarily that he was the one that pushed for NFTs, but it's that type of mentality. How can we put a scarce good out there? How can we create value for the art that we're putting out there itself? And that, and I think in a timely way, leads us up to this concept of why NFTs are so valuable for musicians, right? Everyone, whether you're a big artist or small, is really trying to find the best way to monetize those 1,000 true fans, whether you have just one set of them or you have different ones in different cities. And one of the things that stuck out to me from these campaigns was actually before this big recent wave that we had. You go back last October, there's this another rapper that recently passed away, MF Doom. He had these masks that he had sold as a NFT, and it was more of a collectible. It was part of his whole get up, where he had always worn a mask whenever he was doing any type of public performances or appearances. And he was able to sell that as a collectible. And of course, as Carolin had alluded to, there's so many different use cases, but collectibles is just one of them. So that to me, it was okay, this is an early way someone that is using something that is very germane and relevant to their fan base that they would connect with. And I think we're just going to see so much more beyond that. And that's what really excites me. I think there's plenty of opportunity. But yeah, I think we're just getting started. And in many ways, there's been so much that has led to this point that we're at now.
I just have one follow-up before I go back to you, Carolyn. But yeah, you mentioned this interesting dichotomy between music at scale, essentially streaming, and then one-of-a-kind products, trying to create scarcity. From your point of view, do you think that is something, or one-of-a-kind products, NFTs, are something that work better for, this up-and-coming, maybe artist that has 10,000 fans, as opposed to someone who's more established? Or do you think it could work both ways? Just kind of at what stage in an artist's career do you think this fits best into?
To be honest, I think it could work at any stage of the artist's career, whether you are someone that is a smaller artist that may not necessarily be someone like a Drake or Taylor Swift, but you've still been performing for a long time, you still have a number of passionate fans. I think that it can work. To be honest, to me, it's less about the size of the fan base itself. It's more about what type of engagement and relationship do you have with those users, with the people that are doing it. I actually had a conversation recently with Tracy Chan, who's the head of music at Twitch, and he was talking about some of the creators there who are earning, well over $50,000 US a year, with less than 200 fans that are helping them monetize with what they're doing through Twitch. And that, of course, is one platform. But if we think about that and you compare that to what's also possible through NFTs, and just thinking less specifically about the medium, but more broadly about, okay, who are the type of people that would be willing to purchase something like this, and understanding that type of relationship can exist, I think the potential is high. And I think that can obviously exist for the people that are small as well.
Great. Okay, and Carolyn, back to you. I just thought it would be interesting if you could expand a little bit more on kind of the specific privileges or access you get with these NFTs you were describing with the festivals, because I think there's a lot of people who don't quite understand that it can go above and beyond just exclusivity. So maybe just speak a little bit more on that specifically. Yeah.
Sure. So what is an NFT, and how would I describe it to people? So actually no one knows what NFTs are. Like, we all know it's big. We all know it's this beautiful asset where we can monetize our creations, where we can really own an asset, because the ownership is really, it's my asset. I can send it whenever I want. It's scarce and it's unique. So we know those kind of things, but no one knows really what the potential is. We kind of feel it's big. So I believe anything in this world will be tokenized. And so there are so many, I can just if I may just share my screen for, oh, it's not possible. But anyways, if I could show you my screen right now. So there are several things you can monetize your content. Dan said a lot about it's super interesting, when talking about NFTs, like how I can monetize something. So we now have this system in an NFT where you can, when you sell and you mint one NFT, you can put in up to 50 people, which accounts get funded whenever the asset is sold. And that's crazy. So just imagine you are a festival and you don't have money to pay the performing artists. So what you could do is, okay, then you get 5% of every ticket sold, the other artist gets 10% of every ticket sold, whatever. And then you have stakeholders in the event. Everyone pushes the event because they will get paid immediately after a ticket gets sold. So this is kind of like the groundbreaking thing here, that it's a different kind of economic thinking. And you see exactly who earns how much. And you also have the concept of royalties. I think at the moment in the art sector, it's really difficult to get royalties. With NFTs on Ethereum, it's a problem because it's platform dependent. But now on NIA, with this new token standard, it's engraved in the token. That means wherever your NFT is sold, no matter if you stay at Midface or another NFT platform, the artist always gets royalties. And that's crazy because right now it doesn't exist in our economic system. And yeah, so it just has so many benefits. And I think it will be the dominant thing in like tokenization and in our like digital economy.
Yeah, definitely. I think the options are kind of endless there. So unfortunately, we're running out of time. We only have a couple minutes left. I wish I could ask you guys much more questions, but we'll just do one more for each of you. And if you could just briefly maybe kind of give some advice, Dan, maybe from an artist perspective from you, Carolin, maybe from more of a tech perspective from you, but just kind of moving forward for an artist, how could they best adapt to this technology? You know, some general advice in that space.
Yeah, the best advice I would say is to think about the overall experience and not just trying to monetize one NFT itself. I think, Carolyn, you alluded to this earlier, but there is a future world where, yes, you have a NFT that you purchase, even if it is a collectible, that collectible then gives you access to go backstage to an artist event. It gives you access to virtual meet and greets. It also gives you access to purchase merch or other things. And then you also become part of that community, right? This is not just something you're purchasing, it's an investment in that artist and your opportunity to be able to be baked in that moving forward. So the more that artists can think about, okay, how do I not just sell this one thing? How could I integrate it in all the other touch points in my business? The better off that they'll be.
Very, very good point.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you, Dan. And so my advice is to follow some artists, some other artists in the space on Twitter. There's like DAO Records. DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. He's a super great guy, also from the hip hop space. So follow those kind of people on Twitter, and because all the NFT people are hanging out on Twitter or on Telegram, like follow artists and other NFT companies and just experiment. There is no right, there is no wrong. Just see what works. Like try every platform and see what you like best, and jump into those virtual worlds. Crypto voxels is the name of this space where lots of the music festivals are happening. So just jump in there and see how other people are doing it, connect with the community, and just be present.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys taking the time to speak to us here. I really enjoyed some of your insights. I know everyone else did too. And yep, if you guys have any closing words, thank you so much.